New quarterbacks for the Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. Tons of injuries for week 5 as we make our 6-pack of NFL picks on today's Peacock and Williamson.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Appreciate all the everydayers. Appreciate everyone stopping in, getting ready for week 5 of NFL action. Got a Thursday nighter later tonight, which is the 49ers at the Rams. A lot of injuries there and a lot of injuries throughout the league. Some teams already without their star quarterbacks and some teams trying to develop new star quarterbacks for their franchises. And we're going to start in London momentarily, but I do want to let everybody know that this episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. All right, we got the Minnesota Vikings just hanging out, European tour, going from Ireland now to London, and it is the Minnesota Vikings at the Cleveland Browns. The Browns making a quarterback change, and Dillon Gabriel is going to get his first start of his NFL career in London, which is an interesting little wrinkle to all of this. And one of the big sayings that I kind of agree with, Matt, in the NFL, I don't remember which coach said it. Might have been John Madden. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none.
Yeah.
You need a second quarterback if you're the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens, who we're going to talk about, who are going to be playing their backup quarterbacks, much to their chagrin. So it's important to have a second quarterback. The 49ers as well. Like, we're a lot of backup quarterbacks today that we're going to talk about in this 6-pack of picks. Look like it's going to be a 5-pack and not a 6-pack. But the Cleveland Browns, the reason if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. The idea behind it is that means you don't have a real starting quarterback if you're not sure who your best quarterback is. But the other part of it, that what the Browns did drafting 2 quarterbacks, you give yourself 2 swings at the most important position, right? Which is on paper, it's like, yeah, of course, it's the most important position. Yeah. Draft 2. Hopefully you get a good one.
Maybe get Dak Prescott,
right? But guess what? Nobody can handle it.
right.
Themselves, or at least one of them in this case, can't handle it. The coaching staff can barely handle it. The media and fans can absolutely not ever handle it, right? And so now that's where we are. And just after we recorded yesterday's show talking about the switch at quarterback, we'll get more into the game here, of Dillon Gabriel. There was the locker room interview with Shedeur Sanders, and he's miming his answers, and it's just like, what is going on? Like,
what is that?
First of all, why is the microphone in the face of the number 3 quarterback? He's still the number 3 quarterback, right? And so it becomes a circus, and that's why when you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. People just can't handle it. It's just like, he's not starting. Who cares? Talk to the starting quarterback. I know so little about Dillon Gabriel. It's
amazing.
Yeah. And and then there's and then people are choosing sides. So then it's like you start rooting for one guy instead of the other guy, or it's like, oh, this guy Shedeur Sanders, he's an idiot and he can't handle it. Or it's like, good for you, Shedeur Sanders. They took your quote out of context last time. You really showed them this time. Good job. We hope you start. And it's just all of it is so strange. You would think that most Browns fans would be rooting for both quarterbacks to potentially be good. And it makes everyone's job more difficult. The head coach doesn't like it that there's a third string quarterback getting talked to. Dillon Gabriel's maybe it's better for Dillon Gabriel because he has less spotlight on himself and the spotlight's on the number 3 guy. But the whole thing is just so weird. And in the end, it's just because I don't have any sides to take. It's my side is that, can we just pay attention to what's important? And like, nobody can handle the fact that maybe a guy that's famous isn't starting. It's so weird.
It's so weird. The whole thing, and they brought it upon themselves, and the Browns often do. And like you said, I understand. We'll just take a couple cracks. I mean, Packers used to draft a quarterback every year, even when they had Favre, even when they had Rodgers. You end up with Matt Hasselbeck in the late rounds. And okay, that's great. but there's such a circus around this. I mean, so first of all, we'll start with Shador because everybody does. What are you doing? I mean, you're the third string quarterback. Every other third string quarterback in the league, keep your head down, be a fly on the wall, be invisible, first guy in the building, last guy to leave, hoping for your opportunity. And the other thing that makes me crazy is I've heard a lot of complaints. Well, why wouldn't you have Shador be the 2? Well, the number 2 quarterback, especially this week on the road overseas, doesn't get any reps. So if the starter gets hurt, Flacco's at least been in stadiums and played recently. Like, you can't get 2 rookie quarterbacks ready. Every rep's going to go to Dylan Gabriel, so there's a major logistics situation here in terms of how you want Gabriel to succeed. So you want him to take every rep with the ones. Sanders probably didn't even throw a pass to Judy or Njoku all week in practice, nor should he. I'm not even sure Flacco probably did, because you need the guy to get ready.
And hasn't in any practices all year.
Right. He's a third. I mean, you got to work your way up. First off, I like the move. I mean, I think it's necessary to happen. Flacco's shouldn't be in the league anymore, in my opinion. And Gabriel over Sanders just stylistically makes sense too, because one guy gets the ball out of his hand super quick, and the other guy takes a lot of sacks and holds the ball. And Stefanski can scheme things up for quick hitters and the Gabriel style of play, the point guard to a way of doing things. Now, I don't. And I talked about you opened the show with that saying: if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. Unless it's Steve Young in Montana, I tend to agree. But even that was a bit of a S show,
It was a little weird at times.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the social media age, it might have been more difficult. You only got to see the ink spilled in San Francisco newspapers. Just saw it actually locally with the 49ers when they drafted Trey Lance. It was a nightmare, and it was a circus. And you think, well, we're going to keep the old guy in Garoppolo, and we're gonna develop the Trey Lance, the top 5 draft pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a ridiculous circus, and nobody could handle it. And it ended up poorly for the young guy. And luckily for the 49ers, they did double dip in the draft. Well, at least the next year they did, and got Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, who turned out to be the better of all of those guys. And we're already seeing it this year too, with like Mac Jones plays good for a game. Brock Purdy's injured, comes back and doesn't play as well. Mac Jones better. Let's go. Here we go. Let's crank it up again. Quarterback controversy. And the teams in a lot of these cases are, in good faith trying to be good and develop quarterbacks, but the media and the fans can't handle it. And so that I'm going to point the finger at the fans and the media, and I don't want to be a part of that necessarily. So that's always my job. It's been my job since 2021 on Locked On 49ers to be like, calm down. Don't be weird about it. This guy's this guy's this. We don't have to overdo anything and be part of that circus. Let's avoid the circus.
So let's dig into the game, I guess. Enough of that nonsense.
You saw the Minnesota Vikings last week, and the Cleveland Browns in London, quote unquote home game for the Browns here, are 3.5-point favorites against those Minnesota Vikings with this new quarterback. So there's a lot of unknown with the new quarterback. We don't know exactly how this is going to look. I think Spencer German, we heard from him yesterday on the pod, kind of talked about, the play action passing game. You roll it out, get your quarterback on the move, and that will be something that potentially could help this Browns offense. Yeah. They're going to want to try to run the ball and Quinshon Judkins and get that going as well to help their young quarterback. And, maybe the rookie to rookie connection, both third rounders, right? In Dylan Gabriel to Harold Fannin might be a fun connection there and might really grow and be cultivated here by the Browns. But is this Vikings team at 2-2 equipped right now to just say, well, look, you have fun developing. We're going to go win a football game.
Yeah. And watching it live, I have great respect for Flores and his mad scientist defense and blitz and all the different things they throw at you. But watching it live, you could tell Aaron Rodgers dealt with that fine. Now Aaron Rodgers and Dylan Gabriel first started right. I mean, they're 20 years apart and 20 years of experience difference. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be swimming, but I do think there's 2 things that the Browns fans should be a little excited about. First off, their defense is great. I mean, it's maybe the best defense in the entire league. And Myles Garrett, believe it or not, has elevated up. He's better now than he's ever been, noticeably, which is bonkers. That means he's like LT levels. And I killed the Browns draft for one reason, because they didn't draft any offensive linemen. But the guys they've drafted have been good. Schlesinger and, like the Fannin you mentioned, so that Judkins, at least they've drafted good players. So you have a defense and you maybe have a rookie class, and maybe this quarterback can add to the rookie class. At least there's something to kind of get excited about. I saw this game at 3.5. Is that where you were at?
3.5. Yes. Vikings favorite.
I think the Vikes win, but the Browns defense keeps this thing really close. And I bet Gabriel has a really tough day against Flores, though. I didn't think Wentz played terrible against the Steelers, by the way, but he does do dumb Wentz things and take sacks.
He'll
and things
do
like
dumb
that.
Wentz things. The over-under is only 35.5, which is the lowest of the week, too, which usually tells me, take
That's
the
why I want
points in a game
points.
like this. Funky environment in London. Maybe the Vikings more acclimated because they've been there and didn't have to just take that long of a flight, So
after just being there, I think that really, really matters.
Yeah. And so
really
I definitely like the Vikings. They should be favored in this 3.5. I'm going to go ahead and take the Vikings because things could get weird. But, you can't prepare for a quarterback. You don't know what you're going to be looking at either. So that is an advantage for the Browns in this one. Speaking of Brian Flores, this is not really related to this game because this is not what the quote was about. But I just saw a quote from Brian Flores that I wanted to relay because I thought it was amazing. And somebody brought it up on Twitter, and it was about turnovers and how important turnovers are in protecting the ball. And the quote from Brian Flores is, I love my son, basically, but when he hugs me, he better be trying to punch the ball out. Like, what a code. What a
yeah, baby. Love it.
There you go. All right. So Matt's going to take the Browns and the points. I'm going to go Minnesota Vikings. I think they could win big in this one. Although
this might be a race to like 14 points.
Yeah, I think it is smart to take points in a battle like this. I just am so much more confident in the Vikings than the Browns this week. Next, we've got we're going to stay in Ohio, or actually we're not in Ohio because they're in London, but the Cincinnati Bengals are in a really rough spot. They're on QB2 right now, and they are hosting the Detroit Lions, who have really developed into a powerhouse once again this year and have seemingly figured out a lot. We're going to talk Houston, Baltimore, 49ers, Rams, Thursday Nighter, and the Arizona Cardinals. They have a healthy quarterback, but they do not have a healthy running back. So we're going to talk about the Cardinals hosting the Tennessee Titans as well in this Week 5 6-pack next. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, and NFL season is rolling along. We're already a month in. We're already a quarter. We're passing the quarter pole right now of the NFL season in 2025, which is somewhat hard to believe. And if you haven't gotten in on the FanDuel action yet, you still can with a phenomenal offer. FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Weekly lines, player props, build your own parlays, same game parlays, and even jump in on live in-game betting during games if you feel the action and the tide turning a little bit. You could wake up on the West Coast at 7:30 a.m. and realize, oh, man, it's halftime already in the London game, and still get in on that action at FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com. Get 300 in bonus bets, the biggest I've ever seen them give away. If you win your first $5 bet, just visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. This episode is also brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. And when it comes to performance, when it comes to safety, Mazda is at the top of its class. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS top safety awards than anyone else as of August 2025. You want to talk about how serious athletes take it, how serious teams take all of this stuff. It's the same with Mazda. From footwork to breath work, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every model, and you can feel it when you sit in a Mazda and when you drive a Mazda. So, like the players on the field, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. We are moving on here to the Cincinnati Bengals. They are hosting the Detroit Lions, and they are 10.5-point underdogs, and they mustered all of 3 points last week, and they have looked like a disaster in the post Joe Burrow era. That's not post Joe Burrow. He'll be back. It's just going to be 2 or 3 months before he comes back. Maybe this season, maybe not this season. At this point, this is a team that won a couple games early in the year, Matt, but they are just not moving the ball on offense.
Oh, it's bad.
I think they have the most expensive offense in the NFL, by the way. And it's the worst.
I bet, with Orlando Brown and the receivers, and
yeah,
I bet so.
10.5 points is the big question here. And what do you see from the Cincinnati Bengals team? Can they keep this close? It's a lot of points. There's a lot of big lines this week, and we're going to talk about a few of them here. And man, the Lions, week 1 in the offseason, there was a lot of questions I had, and essentially those questions have mostly been squashed. Like, this is still a good football team, and so good on Dan Campbell. Overcoming the loss of both coordinators, an all-pro center, that's not easy. And they've done it with alacrity, I think is the right word, how quickly they've gotten through all that and figured all that out.
I'm super impressed with Detroit. I'm going to cut to the chase on this, and then I want to ask you a quick question about the Bengals. The Lions have a propensity for just blowing out terrible teams. They win by 40. So the line does not bother me at all. I think they win by 40. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even think this is competitive. The backup quarterbacks are in the fourth quarter. So I got no problems laying the points here. And then I want to run something by it.
It's hard for me to 10.5 points is a lot in an NFL game. Are the Bengals prepared to put up a fight? And look, teams are different week to week, and there's different game scripts, but the Bengals are playing a better team this week than they played last week. They didn't even want any part of the football last week. It was like, we're going to run 3 plays and give you the football back because we don't want it. It was like, we're allergic to this football. And
short week for them too.
Almost no fight was put up.
So bad.
So for that reason, I am. It's kind of reluctant because it's a big line. I don't think I would put my money on this one. I wouldn't advise going all in on this one just because it could get weird, and who knows? The ball's oblong and bounces funny, but the Lions should beat the brakes off the Bengals.
I think so too. So if you're in charge of the Bengals, would you start shopping Hendrickson in particular, and maybe even listen to offers for Higgins or anybody else you want, not named Chase or Burrow? Or would you call the Giants and go get Russell Wilson? Now, maybe it doesn't matter if you get beat by 40 in this game and the record's so bad there's no coming back. But I just thought could Wilson get me to the point where Burrow can get us in the playoffs?
So part of it is, and I've talked about, we'll get into this a little bit more with the 49ers too. Like, one of the ideas is like, well, what's really best for the 49ers for Thursday night is to sit everybody and play Adrian Martinez.
Live the fight another day.
And pretend that this is a preseason game and get healthy so you're actually good later in the season. But you can't do that. You know, you have to try to win a football game.
And it stinks as a division game too. For for the
Bengals, it's kind of similar. They were 2-1 last week. Burrow goes down. It's like, but you're 2-1. You're over 500. You're in first place in the division, right?
Right.
You're still 2-2. And in-house, you have a lot more confidence than maybe Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson do sitting over here thousands of miles away in this Bengals team and what they're going to be. It did not look good last week. Maybe they can turn that around and figure it out. Is Russell Wilson going to change that? I don't know. You could potentially do both, though, because you could
potentially do both.
You still have a month before the trade deadline, right? When is the trade deadline? Usually around November 1st, Halloween time, right? So you have multiple.
And Wilson would cost you nothing.
That's the thing. You could do both. You could go say, look, we're trying, and then you still lose a whole bunch of games, and then by week 8 of the NFL season, you're like, okay, we have to entertain offers for some of these players. It's a smart thing to do, and we're now officially out of it, and we've made that determination. Probably too early to make that determination. If you do get beat by 40 points by the Lions here, maybe that starts to speed up that process, and you can get a second rounder instead of a third rounder for Trey Hendrickson. It might be worth doing a move right now. But I think you.
And maybe if you were to grab Wilson, it should have been a week ago.
That's true. It should have been right away, and maybe it's too late. I don't know if there's another quarterback that could be available that maybe more familiar with, the scheme than another potentially. But maybe you do both. But right now, I think, it's a little too early, but maybe that'll come quick for the Bengals where they're like, okay, well, now we're a couple games under 500 and we're just not competitive anymore. So let's figure this out for next year. The other team that's in a rough spot right now is the Arizona Cardinals, and they have not one, but two running backs on IR now. So Trey Benson has been lost to injury after James Conner had already been lost to injury. So we're talking about DeMercado and Michael Carter running the football for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this week, it might not matter, but the Cardinals are a team that I thought was going to be a lot better this year. They're sitting at 2-2, and they haven't been super impressive, and even their wins have been over bad football teams. So the Cardinals are not good. The thing is, the Titans are just worse, and that's why the Cardinals are favored by 7.5 points at home right now over the 0-4 Titans.
I hate that half in the line, but I don't have any faith at all right now in Tennessee. I think they're highly dysfunctional, almost begging to get fired. I don't think they're ruining the young quarterbacks. The only good thing I can say about it. And I think Arizona's D and that front should really whip up on a bad offensive line as currently constructed. And like Ridley's not even doing anything. And I mean, like nobody's good on this team except for Jeffrey Simmons. I mean, it's bad. So I don't think the running back thing's a problem this week, but I think it will be for a while. I think Arizona's in trouble, but I will lay the points at home.
Personnel-wise, scheme-wise, the Titans are just not ready to compete and beat an NFL football team. At least the Cardinals are still an NFL football team right now. We heard from Tyler Rowland on this podcast earlier on in the week, and he called it the worst team he's ever seen in his life. So that's where the Titans are right now. Yeah, and so until further notice, I mean, and even with Ward, it's like, okay, well, what could it be? You've already changed coordinators. Everything seems all, I mean, it's just like there's some ineptitude going on there, I think, in what's going on organizationally and throughout the staff. And then it's like, well, okay, well, you're gonna throw 4 touchdown passes to Alec Iomanner and go win a game. You know what I mean? So it's like it's the number one guy. I don't know. Give me the Cards. Another reluctant. I'm going to give up a whole bunch of points and a touchdown. Seems like a lot in a week-to-week line, but against the Tennessee Titans, it might not be that much. 7.5. I don't like the half, though. You're right.
I know. I don't love that half part.
I do like the Cards by like 10, though.
Yeah. I mean, they got a legit quarterback and Marvin Harrison and,
Next, the Cooper Rush-led Baltimore Ravens are hosting the Houston Texans. Is this a win-or-go-home match? And then we've got a really, really banged-up San Francisco 49ers team on a short week at the Los Angeles Rams next. This episode brought to you by Game Time, and I know I'm talking to a lot of football fans, a lot of sports fans. So if you are a sports fan and you ever want to go to a game, you got to have Game Time in your pocket ready to go. The NFL season's back. It is rolling. And honestly, there's nothing better than being in a stadium surrounded by fans. Playoff baseball. The atmosphere is awesome right now. College football. We talked about the big game college football atmosphere yesterday. We're talking about being in stadiums and cheering on your favorite team. Let's be honest. That's all awesome, but getting tickets is a lot of times not awesome. And it can be a hassle. And between the queues, login screens, prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. And there's nothing worse when you pick out some tickets and you think, okay, the great seats, great price. I love it. Let's go. Then you go to checkout and the price is stupidly different than what you thought it was going to be when you were picking out your seats. So the all fees are included and the price you see is the price you pay on Game Time. So no surprise fees at checkout. And you always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. And you can get some phenomenal deals on last-minute tickets to any football game, sporting event, concerts, comedy shows, and all of it. So when you need tickets, go to Game Time first and download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. So, little play on words, Matt, from me. If you're watching this on YouTube, I wrote Ravens Rush. First of all, I was trying to think of something that didn't take up a lot of words to put on our background. Cooper Rush, the backup quarterback, now the starting quarterback, but also how are they going to treat Derrick Henry in the running game? And Dan Orlovsky brought up a stat that it kind of was shocking, and I was very surprised to hear that the Baltimore Ravens are 32nd in the NFL on running the football on first and second down.
Wow. He's only gone over 50 yards once.
But this is for how often they do it. But when they do it, their success rate is number 2 in the NFL.
So they're just not running it on first and second down for whatever.
On early downs. And there's been some game script stuff, and they've gotten behind. And, obviously, it was the first week. Derrick Henry went crazy. But if you thought, okay, Baltimore Ravens, how are they built? Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, all of it, you would think they probably pound the rock a lot with Derrick Henry on early downs. And it just has not been the case. And there's a lot of reasons and more context as to why. But I have to imagine, even if you get down early, you've got to ride that horse. And it's got to be a heavy Derrick Henry game. The Houston Texans on the road at Baltimore are favored by 2.5 points. They only have 2 combined wins between these two teams. And I think you have the stats. What is the likelihood that a team is 1-4 makes the playoffs?
Since 2000, only 7% of the teams that have started 1-4 go to the playoffs. Now, the playoff format has changed a little over that time. 7 go as opposed to 6, but okay, let's bump it to 10. It's still crazy low,
One of those teams was the Los Angeles Rams last year. Do you remember when the Rams were 1-4 and it was like, well, they're on the verge of a fire sale? They ended up winning the division, so it's not impossible. And there's enough talent on these two rosters for these to be teams to
buck that trend, maybe
to maybe sneak into the playoffs. Maybe some divisions,
especially Baltimore to me,
right?
Because Lamar will be back in 2 weeks or whatever.
It's not quite over at 1-4, but as you mentioned, 7%. It gets like, come on, you don't want to make it this difficult on yourself. Do you like the Cooper Rush Baltimore Ravens to cover 2.5 points at home? Baltimore Ravens home dog in week 5 is not something I expected to talk about.
I did not expect that either. And I'm going to take Houston, mostly based on their defense. I'm kind of with you. I assume it'll be coaching malpractice if the game plan isn't give Henry the ball 50 million times. That's all you got to hold your hat on now. You got to keep that defense off the field. The defense has many starters out for Baltimore. And I know as bad as Houston's O-line is, I could see Stroud having a good day. I could see Nico being a problem. I think Woody Marks is clearly taking over as the running back in Houston. I just don't trust either line of scrimmage, frankly, for the Ravens. And even just looking like at EPA, I just pulled up their defense. They're kind of the Ravens defense is at the bottom of the league in run defense and pass defense. And they're just getting more and more injured. And I would think Stroud and company can at least get you 20 points, 17 points. And I think that wins this thing.
I think Cooper Rush can play. By the way, Cooper Rush, 9-5 career as a starting quarterback.
Really?
So this is not a scrub backup. This is a solid NFL backup. He's done it multiple seasons. He was 4-1, if you remember, coming in for Dak Prescott in 2022. He was actually 1-0 the year before that in 2021, and then it was 4-4 last year when he had to play for Dak Prescott. So 9-5 career record when Cooper Rush plays in football games. So not too bad. No. And he's a capable player. And the question for me is, and you mentioned it, so it's the bad Texans offensive line versus the bad pass rush of Baltimore. Does the pass rush all of a sudden look good for Baltimore because they're going against a bad line? Or does the Houston Texans offense take off because the Baltimore Ravens can't take advantage of their porous offensive line and harass C.J. Stroud? And how much of it is on C.J. Stroud? Because I would say half of every sack is on the quarterback in a lot of cases. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. I think I want to take the points here.
Yeah. I mean, Ravens at home getting points by itself is a little bit odd.
They've got enough playmakers, enough guys to catch the ball. And I do think they've got a capable backup in Cooper Rush. And
they at least get the game plan for him all week as opposed to throwing him in,
Right. Still skeptical of Houston, even after beating up on the worst team in the league last year. So points at home, I'm going to take those points in the Baltimore Ravens. I believe in Cooper Rush.
All right. Tell me about tonight.
Oh, yeah, it's ugly. San Francisco 49ers, everybody's hurt. It's nowhere near the football team that the 49ers had put together in the offseason. So you're on your backup quarterback. Mac Jones is going to play in this one. Pearsall's out. Juwan Jennings is out. So it's a big revenge game for DeMarcus Robinson, who was a Los Angeles Ram last year. And what's funny is Mac Jones actually has more career chemistry with the guys who are going to start at wide receiver in this game in Kendrick Bourne, who they just brought in a few weeks ago, and Demarcus Robinson than he would have with the regular 49er starters anyway, because he played with them. That's kind of weird for Mac Jones. And again, talking about good backups, Mac Jones is a player that he's looked good already. The 49ers won a couple games with him playing. I think he's a good Shanahan fit, and I don't think he's a spectacular player, going to put a team on his back or anything, but he's not going to be a disaster. But man, short week, all these injuries, no Nick Bosa. The 49ers had literally zero pass rush last week. It was the worst pass rush they've had in 10 years for the 49ers without Bosa last week. And
they're not running the ball well either.
And they're not running the ball. Carry. And the Rams have been a lot better defending the run this year than they have been in years past. And so all that, you put all that together, this is a borderline scheduled loss for the 49ers. The line has gone from 3.5 opened to 8.5 now that the Rams are favored. And it actually
I wish I got it at 3.5.
I know. And it went up from 6.5 to 8.5 yesterday in the period of like 2 hours between me doing one podcast and another. It was like 6.5 points. I checked again. Oh, now it's 8.5. So all the money coming in on the Rams side. Clearly this is the Rams would be dropping the ball here if they don't win the game, probably literally, because that means they were like turning it over and some weird stuff is happening, because the Niners are just not the 49ers right now. And even like Trent Williams he's playing, but he's not the Hall of Fame guy anymore, right? He hasn't been playing like that this year. He's okay, but it's like, so the 49ers are really not good at any position group. Maybe linebacker is the only one they're as good as they thought they would be coming into the year. That being said,
super quick, is Ayuk or Kittle back anytime soon?
Look, I haven't heard a peep on Kittle. Kittle can come back from IR next week, and so you get the mini bye week coming off of a Thursday night game, extra rest. He's eligible to come off for week 6, so you might get Kittle back next week. Ayuk, the reports are he's still not close.
I didn't think so on him.
Yeah. 8.5 points is the question for me here, because I do think the Rams are going to win this football game. 8.5 starts to get to be a lot, Matt. How do you see this one?
It is, but I also don't think that Stafford and McVay and company are going to be kind, that they could run this thing up. And I really like how the Rams D-line and passing game, and even Kyron Williams and getting Corum more involved. I think the Rams are a really good football team, and this is a terrible time to play them if you're the Niners. I'm taking Los Angeles.
And so if you're the 49ers, and so you can't pressure Matthew Stafford, so you have a Matthew Stafford that gets to sit back and
that's all I can think about.
Throwing to Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, and you also can't run the ball on offense to shorten the game and grind it out and win it that way. Both of these teams have bad special teams. So who knows? Maybe that's a factor. Something weird happens there, but I think the Niners need something weird. 6.5, I might say, okay. But 8.5 is still too much. I think it could be the Niners trying to grind it out, and a division matchup. These coaches know each other a lot. Kyle's going to have some tricks up his sleeve. 8.5 is too much. I'm going to take the points, which I hate, and I probably wouldn't throw my real money down on this one because I like the Rams to win, but it's just a little too big of a number for me. So give me the 49ers plus 8.5 points.
I'm taking the Rams, but I love your last point there about the coach familiarity. I think that is maybe my strongest case to take the Niners.
And to be honest with you, I'm more worried about the 49ers defense with no pass rush than Kyle Shanahan can scheme up an offense. You're going to probably throw the ball a lot to Christian McCaffrey. Mac Jones is capable. You have NFL players playing receiver, even though it's not the guys you want to be out there, and maybe a lack of dynamic playmakers.
But Stafford's back there patting the ball, and you got to cover Adams and Nacua.
That's what I don't like about this.
Yeah.
And so that's why I do like the Rams for sure to win this game. 8.5 feels like a lot, though, with these familiar foes. There we go. That was our 6-pack that turned into a 5-pack here of picks for week 5 of the NFL season. We'll be back tomorrow, break down Thursday nighter, and make picks for the rest of the games in week 5. So stay tuned. Make sure you're subbed up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. And Matt and I back tomorrow.